Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Nick Henschel, COO at American Tours International, ATI. And today we're talking about Northern California, three really wonderful destinations, San Francisco, Sacramento, and Lake Tahoe, where we'll be joined by destination experts to explain what's new and exciting in those destinations. From San Francisco, we have Daniel Schwartz, who's the Director of Global Tourism Development at SF Travel. From Sacramento, we have Sonia Bradley, Chief of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Visit Sacramento, and Tony Lyle, who's the Vice President of Tourism Development at Lake Tahoe Visitors Authority. But before we get started with our panelists, I'd like to share some visuals from these destinations that makes them so enticing and so interesting for you to book for your customers with American Tours.
The fact that San Francisco is about, helping humans and not always thinking the same way, I think it inspires this birthplace for great ideas to come.
The one word I can describe San Francisco is just, it's so majestic. As the city reopens, I hope everyone continues to look out for one another and to continue being kind and leading with their hearts.
One of the things that San Francisco should be extremely proud of is how strong they've been through all of this, and let's just stay strong.
San Francisco has always been associated with the joy of life. Each time we get a different kind of person, we get another seed of innovation. And that's what San Francisco has, is a joining of different cultures, of different ages. It is a hotbed of innovation.
For me, coaching the Warriors, feeling the energy from the crowd, and then being able to enjoy, driving across the Bay Bridge or the Golden Gate Bridge and seeing the ocean and seeing the views. I've loved every moment.
I find inspiration in the people, in the diversity. I find inspiration in the excitement of going to restaurants, hanging out with friends, enjoying the community. We welcome you back to San Francisco.
To enjoy the majestic city.
And our gate is open.
Our gate is open.
I'm going to get started right away with Daniel, who is joining us from San Francisco today. I think a lot of our audience, Daniel, as you know, they're travel advisors from across the U.S. They want to know what's San Francisco like right now. They've heard so much in the news. They've read about San Francisco really being at the forefront of closing things down in order to control COVID. But now I know that you're open, the state's open, and you're really trying to get that message out. I think something about the Golden Gate being open or something to that effect, right, Daniel?
Yeah, our tagline is "Our gate is open." So it's been amazing to promote the city without any restrictions for more than a month now. And leading up to that, absolutely, we always kind of were felt comfortable to invite visitors because people know that San Francisco will be a safe destination to be in, and that will continue to be the case no matter what happens. That San Francisco will be safe. We were one of the best cities in the country around handling the COVID crisis. So people can take comfort in that. I think this question about what's new in San Francisco, there's always a lot going on in the city, and there is a lot of what's new, and we'll get to some of that. But I think also important is what's sort of not new. And what I mean by that is a lot of the attractions, icons, obviously, restaurants, everything that people love about San Francisco remains here. And it's actually a little bit better because some things like crowds have been reduced. You're not going to have to wait as long to get on a cruise to Alcatraz or get into your favorite restaurant. Take a bike tour across the Golden Gate. You're not going to be, struggling to get around as many people. So I think there's a lot to be enjoyed in the city right now, with fewer people, with fewer crowds, and those really classic and favorite attractions in San Francisco are open for business. Of course, some things have changed. Some attractions have been, renamed. Some have been renovated. We do have some new hotels that have opened, which is fantastic. But most of the hotels, if not all, have also reopened. So, we've had increased availability, a reduction of prices. So it's actually a wonderful time to come visit the city, and I really encourage people to do so.
That's a really good point about the capacity being no longer challenged, in some part because you don't have international or business travel that's come back yet, right? So the
Absolutely.
leisure domestic travel is able to really enjoy those attractions, like Alcatraz is a perfect example, right? It was so hard before to even to get tickets to be able to go. And then the hotel rates, I think, are in the industry maybe welcome news to some degree because they had grown so much. I know not on your end, it's always good to have a higher kind of return for the hotels, but for people who are looking at what they can get in San Francisco relative to before, it really is a great value, right? And that's
I've always said that we're actually a destination that offers a lot of value. When you look at a lot of our top attractions, they're either free or very cheap. I mean, to cross over the Golden Gate Bridge is free. Of course, if you're going to rent a bike, okay, that's $20. To go to Golden Gate Park, to go to the Painted Ladies, Alcatraz is not expensive. So a lot of the expenditure came from that high hotel rate, which was, of course, great for our city in many ways. But I'm happy promoting tourism that there is that lower rate and now even more value to be found in San Francisco. And you might have some extra money to spend on that really special dinner at one of our Michelin-starred restaurants, which are still there, open for business, and now offer even outdoor seating for people that want to sit outside. But we'll talk more about culinary later in the webinar, but that's a perfect example of something that's been improved in the city. So we're still that perfect culinary destination now with expanded outdoor seating, streets are closed off. So there's been a lot of positive changes in the city that people really need to come and see for themselves.
Great. Well, we're going to get back to the outdoor kind of dining because I know that that's really changed across the state. But I wanted to move on to our next destination in our kind of road trip journey across Northern California, which is Sacramento, the state's capital, the civic capital, and really a historic center for our state. But also, Sonia, people don't necessarily realize some of the cultural or even culinary aspects of Sacramento as a destination. So I ask you the same question: what's new, but also what has been around that people maybe didn't realize about your destination?
Yeah, I mean, kind of a little bit what Daniel was saying. I think people have the opportunity to do some of the activities that they may not have had a chance to do because they're here typically on business or for a convention. And I know that we're seeing a lot of our local residents taking advantage of some of these attractions and places to visit that they may not have in the past, and particularly with the shutdown, we have so many outdoor activities that people can do. Families were going out to our historic district of Old Sacramento waterfront, where they put up a Ferris wheel last year that was scheduled to be taken down like at the first of the year, and decided to leave it up all year as well. Our museums are open with mostly with reservations. We even have, I have to laugh and we can get back to this, but Sacramento History Museum literally has a TikTok star, Howard, who's in his 80s, who has been a volunteer docent, who's been doing the printing press for years and became a star. So it's kind of like what's old is new again here in Sacramento. The biking along the American River Parkway is definitely things that people are able to do, and it's less crowded for folks to go out there and enjoy their time. We were fortunate to have a couple hotels continue construction in the downtown and midtown areas, both from a Hyatt and a Hilton. They were all boutique properties that were opening. So, there were things that we were able to take advantage of again and capitalize on during the closure and the shutdown. But now people are rediscovering things to do in the area, and also to get out of what are our downtown and midtown core to the outer areas, outside of those areas, to some of the neighborhoods, and start to appreciate some of the more local fare, if you will, made by some of our second and third generation or first generation people from who weren't born here. So I just think people are rediscovering what's here, and certainly our Gold Rush history is very important to us, and that's typically what people know us for, as well as the Capitol. But it's just nice to be able to experience some of the other activities that make Sacramento what it is.
Great. And you mentioned the two hotels that kind of kept building during the pandemic, the Hyatt and Hilton, which I'm sure are bookable on our website on American Tours. Are those open already?
One is open, one called Fort Sutter, which is a Hilton property. It's got a little over 100 rooms, so that has opened. That's actually close to the Sutter and UC Davis Medical Center. And the other two are scheduled to open later this year or first of 2022. So one is the Exchange, which is actually was actually built from a repurpose called the Fruit Building in downtown Sacramento. It's also located right next to the Kempton Hotel. Yeah. So that is scheduled to open sometime this year. I'm hearing fall, but probably by the end of the year. And then there is a Hyatt Centric that is opening right next to the Golden One Center, which is where our NBA Kings play, as well as numerous concerts and activities. They have an outdoor plaza. So that'll be opening too. And that actually has about, I think it's like 172 rooms. So we have two scheduled to open and one is open. And there's about 2 or 3 on the horizon, including a Marriott property. But I don't have any more information on that, but we're getting more boutique hotels in the area.
Great. And all of the properties you mentioned are we work with and are bookable with ATI and commissionable. So that's really good. And it's also important, I think, that when you are adding these types of properties and you're bringing back online properties that were always that were there before, the kind of rate discussion that we had that Daniel and I had, I imagine that you're not seeing a kind of it's still affordable for people to come visit, both weekday, weekend. What's the situation there, Sonia, with the kind of affordability of hotel rooms in the city?
Yeah, because we're seeing quite a few of our regional residents spending weekends in Sacramento, the rate's actually competitive, I would say, on the weekends. But weekday, again, we are at our core still in meetings and conventions town, as well as business. The Capitol is in I believe I actually know this. I think they're in recess now, so you won't have a lot of the Capitol business right now. But I suspect that they will open the Capitol again for the public, at least by fall. So we'll see more transient business coming through. So the weekday rate will definitely still bump up a little bit. But the last report I saw is that rates will still be pretty good for folks coming in, even if it's for a leisure visit. And business as well.
Okay, good. Well, as we journey up the Sierras to Lake Tahoe, I think it's a different picture when it comes to rates right now there. But Tony, we'll first let you kind of talk about, what's new in the Lake Tahoe area, what's different. And then I would like to understand what's going on with hotels and rates in the region.
Well, it's another beautiful day here at Lake Tahoe, Nick. Thank you. And hello to everybody watching today. I am here in South Lake Tahoe. We're in peak season, so July and August for us tends to be peak season. Plus weekends, the rate does spike at the weekend, and that's mainly due to the drive market from Sonia and Daniel, San Francisco and Sacramento. So people like to come up here for the weekend. If it's hot down there, they might want to come up here. But they've got the weekend off, so they want to get into the great outdoors. And obviously, Lake Tahoe is known for its outstanding natural beauty, the stunning scenery, and the great outdoors. That's why people come here. The Renaissance continues with hotel renovations, new builds, and obviously the one that we like to talk about is the Edgewood Lodge, which is an Edgewood golf course. It's now 4 years old. It truly is a 5-star property, and there is nothing like it around the lake. There are some other luxury properties, but not ones that are right on the water. There's nothing between the hotel and the beach. And it's an extraordinary experience to go there to stay or to dine or to go and play golf. But it's not cheap. It's a 5-star property. So you add weekend rates and that property, it's expensive at the weekend. But there's new builds and renovations. We have an old Quality Inn that many people will remember. It's been a staple for many, many years. It's been flattened, and there's a new hotel going in there. It's going to be a Hampton Inn. So it looks beautiful. That's scheduled to open later this year. And what's been happening in the downtown area on the California side is people have been buying up old motels, multiple in some cases, renovating them, and they're kind of these hip, trendy eco hotels now, with meeting spaces and communal kind of bar and wine and coffee areas. So they're great. Places like the Beckett, the Coachman, and Base Camp. So they're a good option. But really, we've got everything from 5-star luxury all the way down to really affordable, if you're on a real budget, 2-star motels. I know with this itinerary, we're looking at Tahoe Lakeshore Lodge and Spa. That's absolutely one of my favorites. I've even stayed there myself. I send friends and family there. It's a smaller hotel, maybe 3-star, but it's right on the water. Every single room has a balcony, and you open your curtains in the morning and there is the lake and the beach. You sit there and have a glass of wine at night, watch the sunset. It's got a big grassy area. It's great for kids. They've got a pool and a hot tub, and it's kind of lodgy style, kind of wood beds and furniture, all made of logs.
Perfect for Lake Tahoe, right?
Yeah, lodgy logs. So that's the Tahoe Lakeshore Lodge and Spa, and it's in walking distance. It's about a mile from the downtown area, but there's supermarkets and restaurants around that there. And then the downtown area, Harvey's. I was actually there last night. My wife and I, on a whim, decided we wanted to have oysters. So we got an Uber to Hard Rock because they've got an oyster bar. The line was too long for us. We wanted them now. So we went to Harvey's, and we thought we'd go and try Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen. You can never get a reservation, but we just walked up. The host gave us 2 seats at the bar, and guess what's at the top of the menu? Oysters. So win-win. We did have the foie gras and the pan-seared scallops, and of course we did have the sticky toffee pudding at the end. So I blew my calorie allowance yesterday.
Sounds like it. Well, it's a perfect segue into what our kind of next subject we were going to focus on, culinary, because there's really some amazing experiences. Obviously, everyone knows San Francisco is really well known for being a culinary leader in the world. But Sacramento has this farm to fork, I believe, culture is what you call it. Let's start though with, you already described, Tony, some of your culinary experiences this last week. What is the situation in Tahoe? You spoke to some of the places that people can go, and reservations maybe being difficult, or you need to make them well in advance. What about outdoor dining? I'm curious about, in all of these destinations, what they've done to kind of expand the number of outdoor spaces, because that's what they did here in LA, and it's really allowed for there to be kind of there's still some challenge with getting a reservation at certain peak times, but there's more capacity in a lot of ways. So what's happened there in Lake Tahoe?
Yeah, no, I mean, the city and the county changed a lot of the ordinances and let a lot of businesses open up in parking lots and on the lawn, and create all these outdoor dining spaces, which continue, which now we're all fully open. They've got that additional capacity. Coming to Lake Tahoe is all about being by the water. I mean, humans, we love to be by water. So having a hotel by the water, it's good to check where your hotel is, how close to the water it is, or is it on the water, but also that dining experience. So you start at Edgewood, they have a bistro with outdoor seating. It's phenomenal, and that's the bistro from the hotel. But as you go along the lake, one of my favorites is the boathouse on the pier. Now, that's the beach retreat and lodge, and there's a pier with a boathouse out on above the water. And that's a really, really great experience. It's a favorite of ours for sunset. Go there, have some food, have a glass of wine, watch the sunset. But further along the lake, you've got places like Riva Grill at Ski Run Marina. That's a great experience. And then you have the resorts that are right on the waters. You have Camp Richardson. So they have the Beacon. That's a favorite. And then over at Zephyr Cove on the Nevada side, they've got, the beach bar and grill over that side. So it really is all about being by the water, have a drink, watch the sunrise, watch the sunset, or just go there for a drink and let the kids play in the sand.
Mm-hmm. Sounds lovely. And it's really, all three are water destinations, something that, there is commonality on the river in the case of Sacramento, Sonia. And tell us a little bit about the farm to fork culture there in the city, and what visitors should be looking for.
Sure. Yeah, we are America's farm to fork capital, and we say that because our location puts us right at the edge of the what we call the Sacramento Valley, Central Valley, and so we're really closely surrounded by. We count about 150 different crops within very close by to us, which means shipping to Sacramento wasn't a big problem for us during the pandemic. So a lot of our restaurants were able to maintain that sort of farm to fork ethos that we like to talk about. Essentially, we have a lot of homegrown chefs. We're here, left, came back, and started their restaurants here. And we're able to just really to take advantage of the foods that are cooked literally in our backyard. And I know California, particularly San Francisco, certainly have that opportunity. But I just see our restaurants as we're very chill about it. Our chefs come out. They'll chat with you. You will probably see them at a farmer's market on a Saturday or Sunday, picking out their menu items for the day. They'll be more than happy to talk to you about what's in season, how best to prepare something. And because of that, when they created the California Michelin Guide, I think we're going on 2 years now. We were able to get 12 of our restaurants. One of them is a 1-star. Did receive a star in the California Michelin Guide, and we were waiting for the new guide to come out. But we have 12 Michelin rated restaurants in our wow. city, and people, we knew the secret here in Sacramento, but we're spreading that out amongst the country and the world. And so, unlike Tony, I'm not going to pick my favorite one because they're all good. I do have a couple of favorites, but what we get is just a really chill vibe in our restaurants. They're never stuffy. You can just kind of go hang out, but you get some of the best tasting foods there is. It's tomato season, and the tomato dishes popping up now are to die for if you're a tomato fan. Certainly there's more zucchini right now than we probably all want to admit. Zucchini It's cherry season. Again, you know, I'll go to a farmer's market probably 2 or 3 times a month, and we'll literally see the dirt from the food on the hull of something. So that's why we're America's Farm to Fork capital. In addition, in September, we hold, I think we're going to talk about events, but we hold, that's when we hold our festival, Farm to Fork Festival. And that's when we invite all the folks who are growing their foods here to share it with the rest of the city and everyone who likes to eat fresh foods. And a lot of people, a lot of the even grocery stores, they're all part of this movement, and that's taken place over the last 8 to 10 years for us.
Okay, great. And I think that the festival is definitely something that will be of interest to our audience today. And we're going to speak a little bit about other outdoor kind of events. But at first, Daniel, we spoke, you were referring to cuisine earlier. Everyone, I think, knows that San Francisco is this kind of hot cuisine capital for the US, for the world, for California, certainly. So what about the outdoor dining experiences in San Francisco and just the kind of the restaurant culture right now, generally?
Yeah, the outdoor spaces. I never know where to start on this topic. San Francisco is such a wonderful culinary destination. It's honestly one of the reasons I love living here. It makes it very difficult to travel. It really sets the bar so high. We share many of the reasons Sonia was talking about, being surrounded by farms, the ocean, all these fresh ingredients. And then there's just this culture of excellence and innovation and diversity. San Francisco, while a relatively small city, actually, fewer than 1 million people, we have so many rich cultural heritages here and histories that's really captured in the culinary cuisine in San Francisco. And a perfect example of that is, if you look at even the new restaurants opening right now or that have opened recently, we have, an anchovy bar that just opened in the Fillmore district. We have, Empress by Moon in Chinatown with Chinese cuisine. We have a Peruvian restaurant in the Marina, Mastra's, a steakhouse in Union Square. So much diversity and all excellent restaurants that, again, fewer crowds now, you might be able to get a seat. And on that note, there is expanded seating because of these parklets, this outdoor area that were started during COVID when outdoor dining was the only option. Over 2,100 permits throughout the city were granted to restaurants to build out these parklets. People are probably familiar with them. We're not the only city to have done them, but we did just make them a permanent feature of the city. So fantastic. I know it can get a little chilly in the evenings and at night in San Francisco, especially in the summer during the day. It's sunny and warm, but of course, always wear layers. But in the evening, it gets a little chilly. So you'll find that many of these restaurants have heat lamps. They have everything set up for a really enjoyable experience. And it's something that I'm just so excited that is now permanent. As a resident and visitor, it's really, really enjoyable.
Daniel, I'd love to talk a little bit more about the kind of outdoor experiences that you would recommend, this late summer and even into the fall there.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not from San Francisco originally. I'm from the East Coast, and I moved here intentionally because I love the outdoors. I love nature, and it's something that is so that San Francisco really offers above and beyond most cities in the world. It is one of the most beautiful cities. We have wonderful weather. Of course, it does get a little bit chilly in the evenings, but it also never gets too hot, and it's never freezing. It's just bring a layer. During the day, you're going to be wearing your t-shirt. Just bring one layer. So in the evening, if it gets a little chilly, you have that there for you. But definitely September, October are our warmer months, and that makes it some of our more popular months to visit. And accordingly, we have many of our outdoor festivals, whether it's Outside Lands that's returning in 2021, this massive music festival in Golden Gate Park, or something that captures the essence of San Francisco, like the How Weird Street Fair, which is in Soma, that will be in September. You'll find all sorts of weird music, art, and vendors from around the world. So that's something fun. Fleet Week is going to come back. So always a lot going on in those 2 months. So definitely some of the best times to visit. As for outdoor experiences, I mean, yeah, it could be its own webinar. As a matter of fact, I did a webinar on outdoor. We have everything from, hiking. We have guided hikes to botanical gardens. We have wonderful parks. We have new parks that people should check out, such as the Salesforce Park in San Francisco. We have new attractions in our parks, like the Sky Star Wheel in Golden Gate Park, which will give you unparalleled views of downtown and the beach, the Pacific Ocean. So definitely, if you're looking for an outdoor experience, San Francisco is a wonderful choice, and you can depend on the weather to be excellent during those September and October months.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much, Daniel. I think, Sonia, going into you mentioned one festival, others that you'd like to mention, or some of the outdoor kinds of activities that Daniel was speaking to in San Francisco, I know also, can be exist in Sacramento as well. I know along the river especially is somewhere where you have a lot of activities that you'd like to maybe tell our audience about today.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Sacramento is actually at the confluence of the Sacramento and American rivers. The Sacramento River is actually the longest river in California, and it starts way up in Lake Siskiyou and goes all the way through California, and which means there's dozens of activities that folks can do on the river. Probably one of the top things that you can do, particularly on the American river side, is whitewater river rafting. A guide told me, I can't corroborate him, but I trust him since I stayed in the boat. A guide did say that the American River is one of the best whitewater rafting river areas in the country. And in fact, this is at the time that I did, a guide said they actually will switch. They'll do California in our summer and then switch to like Australia in their summer because of how good the rapids are here. So we know we have whitewater rafting. We also know that for those who are less adventurous, floating is huge in Sacramento. You just get a rubber tube of some sort and you just float down the river. That is huge because of the beaches that line the river along Sacramento and outside the region there.
More relaxed activity, right?
Very much more relaxed activity, yes.
Can you drink alcohol while doing that, Sonia?
You can, but interestingly enough, for the high holidays like Labor Day or Memorial Day, they actually do, it is illegal to have alcohol on the river for the big holidays. And you can probably imagine why, it's a magnitude why you can't do that, because what a lot of people will do is they will use a rope of some sort and they'll attach the rafts to each other and just go floating down the river. So they want people to be safe. There'll be dozens of boats.
Create a flotilla, yeah. So go at a time, not around the holiday weekend, and float down the river.
For sure.
In other words, yeah.
And that definitely is plenty of water activities. One of the big things that happens here is fishing. We're actually one of the best fishing locations in the state as well. We have dozens of different types of fish that people can catch. In fact, we have hosted a bass fishing contest here where people have caught some really large bass. And I'll tell you, I'm not a fisher person. I guess is what they're called much, but it was actually really cool to see. They go out first thing in the morning and they came back and they weighed the fish. And these were people who fish from all over the country. So we have one of the best fishing areas in the country. I've seen a lot of fly fishing along the river as well. If you are not a water person, but you like to put on a pair of shoes and go walking in the urban core, I highly recommend that you do a tour of the murals in Sacramento. We have about 800 different murals located throughout the city. We have a mural festival that typically happens in late summer or early fall, where artists come from around the country and do these amazing artwork on the walls. And there are maps available on the website that will tell you which murals to go to and what their story is. And we continue to add them, whether it's a festival or not. So if you only have a couple hours or you're doing a day or two, I highly recommend that you take in some of the murals that are throughout the city. There's some really, really cool ones. And they'll be at you'll just turn around, there'll be a mural right in front of you. So a lot outdoor is good for us. We do get warm in the summer, but we have beautiful evenings because we get what's called the Delta breeze. And sitting outside eating is a wonderful experience. We also have our outdoor dining spaces that have been maintained since the pandemic. Yeah, outdoor is great. And like everyone says, it's a dry heat, so you'll survive, because I was just on the East Coast where it wasn't a dry heat. So it's a big difference. But plenty of things to do outdoor in Sacramento.
I hadn't heard of the Delta breeze, different from not related to the Delta variant that we're unfortunately, all hearing about, related to the California River Delta, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
Well, focusing more on water, Tony, you had spoken before about that's really why people come to Lake Tahoe. Well, obviously, there's the stunning mountains around the lake, and people come to hike as well. But what are some of your favorite outdoor activities that are accessible, that our audience should know more about? Because I'm sure it's not, you can't just go on a whim and book your water ski instructor or boat just on the fly. So maybe you could share a little bit about what they should take into account in planning water activities on the lake.
Well, there's a multitude of marinas and operators around the South Shore where you can rent anything from a powerboat to a pontoon, jet skis, kayaks, paddle boards, pedal boats, anything that floats on water. You can rent, and you can actually just roll up.
Okay,
and
great.
All you need is a credit card and your driver's license, and they give you some training on how to, operate the powerboat or operate the jet ski, and then off you go. And you can rent them by the hour, the half day, or the whole day. I haven't done it this year, but I try to do it once a year, is go out with family and friends. We'll rent a boat, and there are places around the lake where you can eat and drink on the on the water, by the water. But you don't have to worry about parking your boat. They have valet. So valet come in their little dinghy up to your powerboat, and they'll drive it in and moor it on a buoy or on a pier, and then they'll take you to the restaurant and the bar. So you could do a bar crawl. No, you shouldn't do. You shouldn't.
A boat bar crawl?
Yeah.
I think it's better if you're on a inner tube.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Less risky.
Yeah, but that's one of the ways, renting a boat or a jet ski to go to Emerald Bay. So Emerald Bay is one of the most visited places, and of course it can get busy. So you've got to get smart about visiting Emerald Bay. Go by water. There's also the cruise boats. You could go on a cruise boat where they have another bar and a restaurant, but it goes to Emerald Bay. If you are going to drive there, be smart about it. Go there to see the sunrise or the sunset. You don't want to go in the middle of the day, because that's when everyone goes. So that's a top tip, really, is just be smart about going to Emerald Bay. Everyone wants that classic money shot picture from the head of the bay. Yeah, go get it, but go get it at the right time. Okay. There is there's a multitude of, you can go water skiing if you wanted to. You could go scuba diving. I mean, anything you can do in or on water, you can do here. But on the land, on the mountains, again, you can go hiking, rent bikes. There's a whole network of bike trails. But for everyone listening, your clients, they can choose the level of adventure they want to have. There's easy trails. There's obviously mountains you can go up. But right behind the downtown area, the state line area, the California and Nevada state line, within minutes, that's the big bed bank. That's where everybody, lots of hotels are.
Right.
Literally within 5 minutes, you can be at Van Sickle Bi-State Park, and you feel like you're in the middle of nowhere in 5 minutes. And people like to take a picture. They've got a California, Nevada concrete piece in the road. People like to take pictures there. But you can walk up as far as you like. But talking about this level of activity, people often go on these marked trails. They feel like they're in the middle of nowhere, but it's flat. but they'll go home and they'll tell everyone they went hiking at Lake Tahoe.
Right.
The same with renting a bike and going on the bike trails. They'll go back and tell everyone they went mountain biking in the mountains, but again, it was flat and they were on a cruiser. But they had a good time and they had a great experience, and they chose their level of adventure.
Yeah, there are different levels of skill and adventure, I think, in all three destinations. And so lastly, I wanted to give you all the opportunity. We've created this package together with San Francisco, Sacramento, and Lake Tahoe, because they're really, we think, complementary destinations. Obviously, they're within driving distance. A lot of what you spoke to before about actual residents of San Francisco going up to Sacramento, or Sacramento going up to Lake Tahoe. Well, our audience is probably not from these areas. They're going to be driving up maybe from Southern California, or from Arizona, or flying in from the East Coast. So what do you think ties together, and how are these three destinations kind of complementary? I mean, we focused on water. We've talked a little bit about culinary, but there's so many different reasons why I think this kind of trip is really a perfect experience later this summer, into the fall, and honestly year round, because we didn't talk about it at all, Tony, but best skiing, some of the best skiing in the world around where you are, and Sacramento is really kind of a gateway to the mountain, to the Sierras, and San Francisco is just as beautiful in the winter as well. So maybe talk a little bit about what makes these destinations complementary and paired well together. Daniel, I'll let you go first.
I mean, I think it hopefully was clear from some of what we were saying. I mean, I think for those people looking for adventure, we all offer something unique, special. I mean, we all mentioned biking, for example, and all mentioned different levels of difficulty for adventurers. So we have electric bikes for those, nobody's going to tell on you. You still biked across the Golden Gate. It's okay that you had a little help from a battery pack. But we all talked about different culinary experiences, whether it be along the water, or whether it be uniquely Californian cuisine. So all these different pillars, and people that are traveling, if they they want that theme of adventure or culinary outdoors, I think we can all offer something really special and unique in that sense. And I also think that just the ease of traveling, when you look at the itinerary from San Francisco, Sacramento, and Lake Tahoe, it will allow people to choose between maybe a week, 2 weeks, as little as, I think people can spend as much, and I mean, not as little time. Obviously, you need a couple days in each destination to get to know it, but you can easily fill up 10 days, even 2 weeks between the three destinations, and have a wonderful dose of adventure, history, and have a diverse holiday.
Sonia, what do you think kind of combines? I mean, we didn't focus so much on the historical aspect. Some of the most interesting, facets of California's history really reside in San Francisco and Sacramento. But that's one of the other things that ties it together to me, and Lake Tahoe too. You have Donner Pass, some really kind of interesting pieces of history up in that area too. But what else do you think ties it together, Sonia? This really wonderful itinerary.
Yeah, when you think about it, everything Daniel said, and also you think about the history of California in general. We also like to say sort of Sacramento's California begins here, because the folks in San Francisco, a lot of them actually got wealthy because of the gold rush. Right? They took their money, Hopkins and all those folks took their money and built out an amazing city, which happens to be, I'm actually a native of San Francisco. So they took their money to San Francisco. Donner Pass, actually, you can actually see the history of the Donners in Sutter's Fort, which is one of our historical monuments or locations here in Sacramento. So the history really is concentrated a lot at Old Sacramento Waterfront, which has been restored and to some of its 1850s, 1848, when the gold rush happened. So you can kind of get a sense of what it was like during that time. So yes, you can get that history that extends really throughout California. I mean, in fact, this Sacramento became the capital of California because of the gold rush. The government wanted to get its hands on that gold and those taxes. So we were the fastest city, state to the union because of the gold rush. So it definitely all resides here. And I think that permeates throughout the city. I haven't even mentioned the Capitol, which is surrounded by, I think, 2 to 3 acre park of Capitol Park, which again shows the history of Sacramento. So it's all permeated throughout the city and things that you can do. And I think that spirit of that sort of can-do spirit, that sort of never give up spirit is really can be found throughout Sacramento. We talked a lot about our restaurants. These are people who went away to the big cities and came back and started here because they believed in what could be accomplished here in Sacramento. So if you are doing that trek from San Francisco or Lake Tahoe and stopping here in the middle of Sacramento, all of us just have a sort of different flavor, if you will. And so I think with San Francisco and Lake Tahoe, there might be a level of expectations. There's often not an expectation in Sacramento. People tend to come here and they walk away pleasantly surprised and with that feeling they definitely want to return. And there's a lot of just discovery that happens in Sacramento because we are not as well known, but those who know us know that there's something special here as well.
Great. Thank you. Tony, any final thoughts on the itinerary that we've created, the DriveAmerica kind of package that combines these destinations and why they're complementary and why our audience should really recommend this to their customers today?
What Daniel and Sonia said, I mean, you're connecting the ocean to the mountains, and they are completely different experiences. We all know each other and we visit each other's destinations because they are different. I love to go to San Francisco. I love to go to Fisherman's Wharf. You already heard about my love for seafood and white wine. So we love to go and do that. But Golden Gate Park, I don't think is visited enough. I mean, we're in the mountains with all the pine trees. Going down and driving or walking through Golden Gate Park is awesome. And then going to the ocean. That's my favorite place to go, to the ocean, just west of Golden Gate Park. I mean, fantastic. I mean, and then Sacramento, I love the Old Town. I've visited there many times. And Sonia, there's that street that's lined with restaurants that has outdoor dining everywhere. I can't remember the name of that street.
Well, is it towards Midtown or Sacramento?
Yeah.
There's 20th Street. There's 20th Street that has restaurants, and we've actually closed the street off to people completely. So you might be thinking about that.
Yeah, no, I love that area. The last time I was down there, that's where we hung out. And then, coming up to the mountains, a little chillier. You have the smell of the pine trees, and obviously you've got that big blue lake. The lake really isn't blue. It acts like a mirror, so it reflects the sky. So the water, no, it's not blue. And you see all the grades of blue, depending on how deep it is, to that really dark kind of Caribbean ocean kind of color in the middle. But for us, I mean, one thing that's happening at the moment is kind of entertainment. It didn't happen last year, but our Harvey's Outdoor Concert Series has started again. Last weekend we had Earth, Wind and Fire.
Oh, cool.
This weekend we've got Old Dominion. But I've seen acts there, world famous acts. They book the gaps. So when they're doing a North American tour, if they've got a day off or a couple of days off, the promoter will book them into Lake Tahoe, and it's an outdoor amphitheater that they build. I've seen people like Lady Gaga, Bruno Mars, Stevie Wonder, Pitbull, Bruno. The list goes on. In little old Lake Tahoe. So for everyone listening, if you've got clients coming on this itinerary and they're coming up to Lake Tahoe, check out our website and see what's playing, because you might be able to say, hey, while you're there, this act is playing. You have to go and book your tickets yourself, but you're helping them out, enhancing their visit.
Thank you. I have a question for you, Tony. Actually, I have a question for all of you. It's interesting. It happened to me at dinner the other night. Someone asked that table, what was your first concert? And I thought that's such a fascinating question. So, and you brought up concerts, Tony, so I'm going to fire that at you right now. Do you remember what your first concert was? A little off topic, but
I
Fun to
do.
share.
It was in the UK, and it was a band you may or may not have ever heard of, and it was called Status Quo.
Okay.
And everyone go Google
I
Status
haven't
Quo
heard
right
them,
now.
and I know music.
And
How about you? How about you, Sonia?
Yeah, it was the Jackson 5.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a
Wow,
really good
cool.
one.
Yep.
That's cool. Daniel?
I won't put in a plug about all the upcoming concerts in San Francisco because I know we're out of time. My first concert, so I mentioned I'm from the East Coast, was a well-known band, Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I was,
And
I don't know how old.
Nick, you have to now tell us
I
yours.
will. But first I'll say, you know, the audience should know there's a whole bunch of upcoming concerts in San Francisco. I'm sure in Sacramento there are the kind of COVID procedures around them that people will have to adhere to, right? But you can, especially on the outdoor venues, enjoy this late summer and into the fall. Mine was Ricky Martin with
Wow.
Jessica Simpson his opening act. I remember it vividly.
Can't forget that. Oh my gosh.
Totally off topic now, but thank you all for sharing a little bit of of fun history there, and really for sharing what's so amazing about your destinations, what's so interesting right now, going into this late summer period and going forward, and how they all relate to one another, because that's really where ATI gets involved, is packaging them and promoting them as this kind of drive tour easily that our customers can change or can add activities to, or so this has been a really great, I think, time to share about Northern California, what's new, what's the same, and what's really so memorable to our audience today. So thank you all. All right, well, now that we've heard from these three wonderful destinations in Northern California, and we've talked a little bit about the tour that we've developed in conjunction with San Francisco, Sacramento, and Lake Tahoe, I'd like to show you how to customize and to book that tour. On AmericanTours.com, under the DriveAmerica tab, I'm here having searched for the start city, San Francisco. And you can see Discover Northern California here has a standard version, which is more of a 3-star hotel category, and an upgrade version, which is 4-star, typically boutique properties, especially in this case. So I'm going to check availability there. You'll see the tour page, the tour webpage here, and you can either book this tour as is by searching on the start date. In this case, let's start over Labor Day weekend. They have 2 adults that are looking to go on this tour. But what I'm going to do, instead of just checking for the standard pre-built tour, I'm actually going to customize the tour. And it will be searching based on the date that I've selected here, which is the September 3rd, the Friday. So I'm going to click Customize Tour. And now we've seen that it's returned a price for the custom tour based on the 3 nights in each destination of what was already built. It also includes the personal digital documentation, which can be removed, but I suggest that you would keep it for your clients. It's a mobile app with additional information about the destinations, about the recommended itineraries, the recommended points of interest along the way. And what you'll see is the hotels that have been selected in that upgraded category are going to be 4-star, in this case, boutique properties like the Galleria Park Hotel in San Francisco, which is a great property in the center of the city. And also you can see that this includes a promotional rate, including resort fee for your customers. Now, this tour also includes a 1-day San Francisco multi-pass from Go San Francisco, which is great. It has a lot of activities, museums, tours, and attractions that are built in for that day. But I also wanted to add an e-bike tour for my customers today. And so I'm going to actually search on that on the Sunday for availability there. And if you scroll down, you'll see the various types of tours listed. But here's an e-bike rental, which is commissionable and also discounted. And I'm going to select that to be added into the package. So you'll see now that that has been added on the 5th, and then I'm going to continue going to look at the hotels rather, and that have been selected. The Kimpton, which is a boutique property in Sacramento, also great location in the middle of a downtown area. And again, all of these stays can be changed. So our default is 3 nights for this tour in each of the locations, but you can add or subtract nights by clicking this tab here. You can also, by changing stay here. You can also add destinations by clicking the add button here. Now in Lake Tahoe, the system has selected Harvey's Lake Tahoe Hotel and Casino, which is actually on the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe. And my clients, I think, would prefer to stay on the California side. So that's where I'm going to change stay, because I want to look for a different hotel. And in this case, I actually see that there is a hotel up here in Squaw Creek that I have always loved, the resort at Squaw Creek. And so I'm going to recommend that for my my clients. And it's actually quite, a beautiful drive down to the lake and along the lake. And so it is more expensive, but I think that that's where they're going to prefer staying. And so I'm going to go ahead and pick that hotel, change to that hotel. And it will have updated that on the tour page. And so now I am actually ready to go ahead and book. And I'm going to proceed to cart. But first, I'd like to point out that you can actually save the tour, and the changes that you've made will be included for future clients that you would like to very easily book again without having to redo it all over again. So I proceed to cart here, and this is the rest is pretty self-explanatory. You will see that it has everything listed in a kind of voucher format, and then proceed to book, where you'll fill out the relevant credit card and payment information. So I hope that this was helpful for you to see about how to book a tour like Discover Northern California or any of the ATIs. We have over 90 different DriveAmerica tours that we've curated with destinations. But today, I hope that your customers are going to be visiting Northern California, San Francisco, Sacramento, and Lake Tahoe in the near future with American Tours. Thank you so much for joining us today.
This was terrific. Thank you all so much. And we're going to transition right into questions. I know we've got quite a few, and I appreciate that you all have actually been answering questions in the background as well. That's terrific. And there you are. Fabulous. So I had to say, when you were talking about your first concert, so we had someone who said their first concert was Elton John in 1971. So I love that. That was a great question. We had a question here. Let me ask you a couple, Nick. There's a question about how long the saved tours stay there.
So for this tour that we've built, it's 3 nights in each destination. But as I described during the tutorial, you can change that. You can add nights or remove nights. That's kind of what's unique about the DriveAmerica platform.
Okay, very good. And there's a question about, I guess, whether you offer, it says, do you ever go to Murphy's or Angels Camp Mark Twain area, or Columbia for gold mining life? Is that something you offer?
I'm not sure. I'll have to get back to the questioner on that. I believe that would be located near Sacramento. I'm not sure, Sonia, if you have more information or knowledge on that.
We definitely know the folks, and so yes, we can set you up with the DMO up there to help you set those tours for Murphy's or Angels Camp. So yeah, just I can follow up with you on that.
There's Ebbets Pass, don't forget that, from South Lake Tahoe. If you went towards Kirkwood Ski Resort, maybe 30-40 minutes away, and then get on Highway 4, it's a national scenic byway at Ebbets Pass, and it'll come out on the other side of the mountains at Murphy's. And then, of course, you can go down to Columbia there. So there's an easy way to connect them. And then from the foothills over there, you can then sweep back up and go back up to Sacramento.
Okay, very good. So Nick, just everything we've talked about today, are these all put together self-drive, or is this a tour bus type?
Now, these are all self-drive. This is a self-drive tour. We also do have escorted tours and can operate these as a group tour. But what we're talking about today is really a self-drive package that you can kind of customize on your own. So you can also look on AmericanTours.com. You will see our escorted tour program. And then anything can really be created in terms of a special group program by our groups department, either something that we've offered as a drive tour, which I would say really falls into kind of our concierge service when you're spending a certain amount or when you have a certain number of rooms that you would like to book that you can't book online. We can do that for you through our special groups department. So, but today this tour is a self-drive itinerary in conjunction with these 3 great destinations.
Okay, good. So I see some people asking about what web page is. I just want to say that when you leave the webinar, you will actually be taken straight over to the ATI website. So we will redirect you there and you can register if you haven't registered yet. I saw this question, Daniel, when we first came in. It was about whether hotels are operating at reduced capacity and what's going on with masks.
Nope, they're at full capacity. I mean, honestly, they've been at full capacity. Doesn't mean they're full. We have a lot of availability, which has been really nice to advertise to agents. And there's not this issue that we had previously before COVID with the rates and availability. So absolutely, hotels are open. Masks right now are required indoors when you're not eating or drinking, but there are no other restrictions. So, you know, all of our bars and restaurants, indoor dining, everything is open.
Oh, good. Speaking of dining, so Sonia, we had a question that came in about just to help us recall, there's a restaurant that's right on the river in Sacramento. There may be more than one, but does one stick out in your mind as iconic?
I would say Rio City Cafe is probably the more iconic one of the bunch. If you're talking, particularly if you're talking about Old Sacramento waterfront, that would be the one you're probably thinking of.
Okay, all righty. Nick, we have requests here for contact information for everyone, so I'll just make sure, you know, all these requests in the follow-up email, I'll make sure that we get that out along with the link to the replay. So I think with that, I think our last question I'll ask you, Nick, we do have some Canadian partners listening in today. I'm wondering if you can, if they can quote in Canadian dollars.
So we quote in Canadian dollars for Canadian product. We do sell product in Canada as well, but for US dollars, they would have to do that conversion. For our US product, we actually only sell in USD.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, I will stop there, but Nick, was there anything else that you wanted to ask our guests or anything else you'd like to emphasize before we close?
Well, I'd just like to thank everyone for joining today. We ran a bit over, but I think it's because we had a lot to discuss about these destinations, which really are fabulous right now into the fall, also into the winter. I think that's an important point too, that we didn't get to touch on some of the winter activities. I think everyone knows that Tahoe has great skiing, but Sacramento and San Francisco are just as beautiful in the winter time frame. So if you're planning a trip later on in the year, please keep these destinations in mind. Please also keep in mind that at AmericanTours.com, you can come and look at these curated itineraries. You can change them. You can also build them from scratch. I didn't get to show that today, but that's something that you can create your own drive tour, save it in the cart, and then use it again and again for your customers. So that's really something that's, I think, unique for really any kind of travel website that is built for the trade, that you can build from scratch, save, and continue to kind of curate it as you go along for your customers. So I think that's also important for our audience today. And I thank you again for joining us. And I hope you have a wonderful remainder of your Thursday. And hopefully we'll see you in San Francisco, Sacramento, and Lake Tahoe soon. and that you booked through American Tours.
Yes, Nick, thank you as always for all your hard work and bringing all of our guests together. And Tony and Sonia and Daniel, thank you. Thank you for your time today. It was so well worth it.
Thank you all.
Wonderful evening, everybody.
All right. Well, this will conclude our webinar then. Oh, and our social memes, we'll get those out to everybody. So be on the lookout for that. It'll be in the email as well. Okay. Take care, everybody, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.